Hello, I'm Alice, and I just broke the world record. The only pity is that this is a record for the longest stay in an elevator, but let's talk about everything more detailed. I have never had a problem with elevators. There are 3 of them in my house. Now, I understand that with the skyscraper that is located in Chicago, the Sears Tower, in which we cannot compete with as many as 106 elevators, but you must admit that 3 is also quite a bit. Since childhood, my friends and I organized competitions. We were divided into 2 teams, one of which had to go down the stairs, and the second on an elevator, and we competed who would come faster. The losers bought everyone ice cream. In those moments, I dreamed of not being an hour-old elevator, but to be in one like the Taipei 101 skyscraper, which is located in Taiwan. Just imagine, its speed reaches 60 kilometers per hour, and from the 84th floor to the 1st, it descends in just 37 seconds. Well, none of us had any phobias associated with the elevator. Moreover, I just love to be in them. Oh, if I knew what awaited me, I would only use the stairs. On that day, it seems that the universe itself sent me signs, but unfortunately, I did not understand them. Now, I'll tell you what the signs are, and you write in the comments if you would have guessed not to ride in the elevator if you heard this. In the morning, I went to school. The first lesson was history. The teacher told us about the ancient Roman elevators that functioned in the Colosseum. Just imagine, the power of 200 slaves was used to control 24 lifts. At that moment, I thought that if so many people had to strain, so many people in order for me to go up to my house, to the 10th floor, I would never use the elevator again. And then we had biology. We talked about bacteria and where they live. The teacher surprised me with an interesting statistic. A researcher from Toronto proved that elevator buttons collect more bacteria on themselves than public toilets. About 313 bacteria were found on 1 square centimeter of a button, and only 8 on the toilet. I remembered how many times I forgot to wash my hands after the elevator, and I was just horrified. And so, while I was sitting under the impression of what I heard, I received a text from my friend Phoebe. Her parents were away on holiday, and she invited me to a pajama party. Without thinking twice, I agreed. I went home after school, asked my mother for permission, and went to Christina. Approaching Christina's house, I noticed that my phone was almost dead. I went into the front door. I wanted to go up the stairs, but there was only 2% left of my battery. She lives on the 12th floor, and I didn't want to go so long without music. Yes, if I knew what was waiting for me next, that very soon the lack of music would be the least of my problems, then of course I would have gone on foot. Yes, but if you may have guessed, I went into the elevator, pressed the button with number 12, drove 4 floors at the most, and stopped. The elevator is stuck! I decided not to panic and wait a couple of minutes. Maybe something would change and it would start working. Half an hour later, I panicked. The elevator did not even think to work. The phone finally died, and I was, unfortunately, really starving. Having examined the panel with buttons, I found a button to call the dispatcher. But my joy was not long. There was a hiss from the speaker, and that was it. The only thing that calmed me was the certainty that Christina would soon start looking for me. As I spent long minutes of waiting in silence, I remembered that there was music in the elevators of 1920s. It calmed especially impressionable passengers. In those days, moving on elevators seemed like a truly extreme attraction. Although I did not complain about it. Without a watch on my hand, it was difficult to keep track of time, and I could not understand how long I had been sitting in the elevator. I was becoming more and more hungry, and I decided to jump. What if the mechanism just jammed, and I would fix it with my jump? I know many of you will say that you can't jump in the elevator because it can break off, but I watched a video about all sorts of experiments with elevators, and they said that the elevator cabin is suspended on several cables, each of which alone is able to withstand the weight of the elevator with passengers. So I jumped for about 5 minutes, but only got even more hungry, and the elevator did not even think of being repaired. Panic began to overwhelm me. For 3 days all over the world, the number of passengers using elevators is equal to the population of the planet, and I managed to get stuck! And where else? In an old elevator, and not even in the newest high-rise building. If I were in an elevator that would take people from Earth to the orbital station, or in the elevator to the moon, which Japanese engineers plan to build by 2050, then I would have been rescued immediately. There would have been a button to call the dispatcher there, and in general, it would not have broken. I got tired of standing, sat down, and soon fell asleep. I don't know how long I slept, but I woke up completely tired. My neck was numb, I was cold and very thirsty. I didn't understand why I hadn't been rescued yet. Christina should have started looking for me a long time ago and figured out that I was stuck in the elevator. Tears to my eyes, and I decided to digress. The story of a classmate about her trip to Disneyland surfaced in my head. She told me how she rode there on an extreme attraction, a falling elevator. It's located in a 13-story building, and once lifted, the elevator drops abruptly, causing visitors to squeal. In one session, the elevator falls 7 times. At least my elevator didn't make me nervous about trying to fall. As you can see, I am an optimist. After this thought, I fell asleep again. The second time, I was awakened by some strange sounds from the door. After a couple of seconds, the elevator creaked, jerked violently, the lights went out, and my heart sank. Until that moment, it seemed to me that it could not be worse. I screamed. The light turned on again and... oh, miracle! The elevator started working. A couple of seconds later, the door opened. At the sight, my parents, the elevator operator, and Christina were waiting for me. They were all very scared, and I soon realized why. It turned out I had been in the elevator for 42 hours. It took me a long time to come to my senses after what happened. It turns out that Christina decided that I didn't manage to ask for permission, and my mother was sure that I was at Christina's, and then that we went to school together. In general, before they noticed that I was missing, a lot of time passed. Since then, I carry a power bank with me everywhere, and I still do not use the elevator. I'm sure that someday the fear of getting stuck again will pass, but in the meantime, I only use the stairs. And I already managed to pump up my legs as well. You'll remember that I am an optimist. Friends, write in the comments, did you get stuck in an elevator? And also, if you liked my story, please click like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Then you won't miss my other stories.